Good. So let us begin. We'll begin by reading the colophon of this book, the dedication to the Lord Buddha. So we will hold that beginning of that. Samma sambuddham atulam sasadhammang anga anuttamam abhivade bhasisan abhidhammat sangam. So this is having respectfully saluted the fully enlightened one and the fearless one, along with the sublime teaching in the noble order. I will speak the manual of Abhidhamma, a companion of things contained in the Abhidhamma. So this is the words at the beginning of this book, which is Abhidhammata Sangha, which will be the main source of our discussion. So let me share with you how did I venture into this, because it's helpful to see why it is of relevance to meditators. So when I started to meditate, obviously for many years, almost 8-10 years, there was nothing else other than meditation. But slowly, the need arose for understanding morning chanting, especially after I started conducting courses. Then that always remained कोई आगे पूछेगा तो क्या कहोगे ये day 5 पे क्या हो रहा है ये तो पच्चो आरंभन पच्चो पूरी recitation होती है ना. So it sounded very esoteric, but meaning was not very clear. So I tried to study to the extent I could, but it sounded very strange. Just reciting the number of conditionalities. Then in the process of as the meditation deepened, the questions began to arise, and some questions, some of the statements which I heard. One thing was clear, for example, consciousness is conditioned. Now if consciousness is conditioned, what about the knowing of absence of consciousness? Of course, it must be because of my past study of Vedanta and all that, but the questions arose and I couldn't answer them. And then we talk of Nibbana as a state where everything ceases. Vedana ceases, consciousness ceases. If consciousness ceases really, how does it come again? Does it really terminate, or is there something remaining there? So that question always became, it was uncomfortable, but fortunately nobody asked it. So, it just carried on with the question. Then somewhere I think somebody suggested that, I don't know who suggested, ख्याल नहीं, कि वो अभिधम्मा भी कुछ होता है. हाँ, ये तिक पठान जो है ना, जो day 5 पे रिसाइट होता है तिक पठान, तो उनका वो अभिधम्मा का पार्ट है, उसको देखने की कोशिश करते हैं. So then I looked at this book. It was beyond. It just couldn't figure out. It's not in the form of a discourse or any explanation. Just starts like anything. Straight states of number of categories of consciousness category. So it makes a very difficult reading. Genuinely. Then that was the first attempt was failure. So उसको मैंने respectfully रख दिया कि हमारे बस का नहीं है. We should meditate for some more years and then we'll see. Then this issue of anatta arose, and anatta arose, and the question of free will arose. Do we have free will or no? What's going on here? If there is anatta, then it means we are all conditioned. जो हो रहा है अपने आप हो रहा है, फिर तो कुछ free will ही नहीं है. So these questions, created some kind of difficulty. कि ये कुछ clear नहीं है चीजें. Then there are certain terms, and हमने पहले भी डिस्कस किया ना, सुत्ता में कई सारी चीजें जो कॉन्ट्राडिक्टरी लगती हैं. तो ये क्या हो रहा है? Then there are words which are very powerfully used. पच्चय जैसे होता है ना, हेतु पच्चय, और हम अब पच्चय का मतलब क्या है? उसमें भी जैसे पतिच्य समुत्पाद में आता ना, अविद्या पच्चय, असंखार पच्चय, विज्ञानम. तो अब ये पच्चय का मतलब इमीडिएटली तो ऐसा लगता है इट इज द कॉज, दिस इज द कॉज ऑफ दैट, दिस इज द कॉज ऑफ इट. नाउ इफ दिस इज द कॉज ऑफ इट, देन व्हेन यू सी वेदना पच्चय तन्हा, तो इट मीन्स वेदना इज द कॉज ऑफ तन्हा. बट वी से वेदना पच्चय अन्य भी हो सकता है. तो ये क्या हुआ? कंफ्यूजन हो गया ना, फिर से डबल मीनिंग हो गया ना. And then pacchya cannot mean the same thing everywhere. It cannot mean the cause, because if it is cause, then effect should be the same. So something else is also happening, which is not obviously clear in that whole thing. And when we say avidya pacchaya sankhara, how is sankhara arising from avidya? नीचे उसी में पदिच्छावाद पे नीचे ही इतना डिटेल एक्सप्लेनेशन है. सड़ायतन पच्चया, फस्स पच्चया, वेदना वेजना पच्चया, तन्हा. And tanha is pacchaya upadan, so there tanha is the sankhara. तो वहां पे ऊपर तो है नहीं. So this creates questions. If you are troubled by investigative temperament, then you get into, at least I got into number of questions. And this issue of rebirth and absence of soul and anatta, and it also sounds very funny. So I tried to study it again, and then फिर लगा कि कहीं पे explanations तो हैं, तो वो ठीक से समझ नहीं आ रहे थे ना ज़्यादा डिटेल में. तो then we waited for some more years to read some auxiliary things, खासतौर पर वेदांत में जो भी चीजें ये सब पढ़ी. थोड़ा थोड़ा लगा कि उसके अल्टरनेटिव्स भी हैं, पच्चय समुत्पाद के अल्टरनेटिव एक्सप्लेनेशंस भी. इट्स नॉट जस्ट वन थ्री लाइफ सिस्टम नहीं है. इट इज ऑल्सो अपनी एवरी मोमेंट. सो देन इट मेक्स यू थिंक, क्या हो रहा है. It's not a one-dimensional explanation. There are so many explanations of the teachings. तो फिर वो, क्योंकि वेदांत हमने काफी पढ़ा हुआ था, डिस्कशन था, तो वो भी था कि वो कुछ सिमिलैरिटीज हैं कि बिल्कुल ही भिन्न है, लेकिन लगता तो था कि सिमिलैरिटी तो बहुत है. तो डिफरेंस कहाँ पे है वो क्लियर नहीं हो रहा था. That there was no way of discussing it with anybody and really got it clear. एक जो फर्स्ट रियली बेनिफिट की अभिधम्मा को पढ़ने में, दैट स्मॉल बुकलेट रिटन बाय अ नॉन मेडिटेटर, अमेजिंगली, अभिधम्मा इन डेली लाइफ. This lady, Nina Van Gorkum, she was student of one Thai teacher who used to teach Abhidhamma, and then she wrote it in simple Abhidhamma in daily life. It's very, it was readable, I could read it and understand something. So there was some hope कि हाँ manageable है, कुछ पढ़ सकते हैं. Then after that there's another small booklet by Naina Paunika Thera, Abhidhamma Studies, which is a series of essays. It's not like this. It's a series of essays on Abhidhamma. So they're very powerful. तो वो भी पढ़ गया तो अच्छा लगा. So मैट्रिक्स बनाई हुई है, तो ठीक से समझाया हुआ है. So that sounded कि नहीं अब पढ़ा जा सकता है. So then I thought, okay, I think I should read it again. And then meanwhile we also got that manuals of Abhidhamma from VRI. Then we have ladies hired, okay. उन्होंने एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया होता है कंडीशनैलिटीज का, खास तौर पे हेतु पच्चय होगा क्या मतलब है, आरम्भन पच्चय होगा. तो पढ़ा, ब्रीफ में था उसका, बट समझा कि कोई बात तो है. इट इज सम, देयर इज समथिंग इन इट, कंडीशनैलिटीज आर देयर, व्हिच, सो पच्चय इज नॉट कॉज रियली. इट कैन बी ऑफ 24 काइंड्स. हेतु पच्चय, आरम्भन पच्चय, अधिपत. देयर आर सो मेनी काइंड्स ऑफ पच्चय. सो वी ऑलवेज थिंक पच्चय का मतलब है कॉज. वो तो है ही नहीं. तो 24 तरह के पच्चय, 24 तरह के डिपेंडेंसीज हैं. दे आर एक्चुअली डिपेंडेंसीज. दे कैन बी ऑफ सो मेनी काइंड्स. एंड सो it opened the whole kind of chapter. There is something in it which should be really understood. So then I studied it again slowly, and then could figure out there is some meaning in it which is very helpful, at least in theoretical understanding. And then began to see that there must be something in it for meditators also, really. Because from the point of view of anatta, this is the ultimate exposition, to break down the whole illusion of solidity of body and mind. This gives you complete clarity. ऐसे ऐसे हो रहा है, देखो किस तरह से हम appearances में we are getting carried away by appearances. So at some places I read that Abhidhamma is basically meant for clarifying on the issue of anatta, because it's so difficult to understand. So if somebody wants to really penetrate into anatta, you should study Abhidhamma. And so there are many other articles that I started finding. Many other books are available. Research articles are available. There are journals, Buddhist journals, international journals in which people have written articles on consciousness studies. There are articles on that. तो वो फिर धीरे धीरे पढ़े तो उससे लगा कि तो काफी काम की चीज है. One can understand at least from even scientific perspective, psychological perspective. It has very great validity. फिर वो भिक्खु बोधि के सुने तो then I could see that it's really very very useful thing which at least we should study in detail. Then there were books, many books on Buddhist psychology, which have also some elements of Abhidhamma. And in that process, I found that Abhidhamma भी बहुत सारे हैं भाई. There is that the book I purchased of Buddhist psychology 2014 में जब मुझे DU में कहा तो मैंने कहा बुक्स खरीद लेते हैं, देखते हैं है क्या, लोगों ने क्या किया है. So the first book I got was from a Rinpoche, which was in Tibetan tradition. उसमें जो factors हैं वो different हैं. From the manual ये मैंने पढ़ लिया था. So I realized कि तो अभिधम्मा बहुत सारे हैं. So then we have one Theravada Abhidhamma, then there is Abhidhamma believed in Mahayana tradition, then there are others also. So जो Mahayana tradition के अभिधम्मा था वो सारा चाइनीज में ट्रांसलेट होकर चाइना में ही था, यहाँ तो खत्म ही हो गया था. फिर उससे दोबारा संस्कृत में ट्रांसलेट करके यहाँ अवेलेबल हुआ. तो अभिधम्म कोश कोश नाम से कई सारी चीजें अवेलेबल हैं. So then when I got this chance to, request कि वहाँ पे Buddhist psychology का they have a course on Indian psychology. So my good friend था जिसने मुझे एक दो बार बुलाया था अपने psychology national academy of Indian psychology. So they had invited me once to give a talk, and I was quite happy about this talk. I gave a talk on no I, no self, no problems. So वो फिर वो publish हुई उनके journal में. So they were quite happy कि we can have somebody to discuss about Buddhist psychology. वो उसमें पढ़ाते नहीं थे ठीक से. Just वो Four Noble Truths ऐसा कुछ पढ़ा देते थे. Not able to teach it in depth. So then I thought it was a good opportunity कि भाई इसको पढ़ा जाए और वहाँ पे भी discuss किया जाए. How to relate these to Abhidhammic analysis to the mental debilities. So from that scientific perspective, I tried to study. So there are, in Vishuddhimagga, there is a mention of Buddhist personality types. And it is mentioned कि किस personality को किस तरह की meditation करनी चाहिए. So it was quite an interesting thing. So then I thought that should be a great help in psychology study, because psychologists, वेस्टर्न साइकोलॉजी पढ़ने वाले तो ये मानते हैं कि साइकोलॉजी तो विलियम जेम्स से शुरू हुई और उसके बाद फ्रायड एंड ये सब, तो मतलब पिछले 200 साल 250 साल में साइकोलॉजी है. ये बुक जो है 5th सेंचुरी में लिखी हुई है, एंड इट हैज कंप्लीट डिस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ पर्सनालिटी टाइप्स अकॉर्डिंग टू बुद्धास. लोभ वाली पर्सनालिटी होगी, या दोषा पर्सनालिटी होगी, या मोह पर्सनालिटी होगी, या अलोभा पर्सनालिटी अदो. सो दिस एंड देन मेथड्स टू आइडेंटिफाई देम. कि कोई आदमी घर पे किसी घर में जाता है तो कई कुछ होते हैं, घर में जाते हैं तो देखते हैं कि सुंदर चीजें क्या हैं, ये पर्दे सुंदर हैं, ये घर सुंदर है. देन दे थिंक अच्छा मुझे भी अपने लिए खरीदना है. कुछ लोग जाते हैं तो देखते हैं यहाँ गंदा क्या है, यहाँ देख कितना गंदा है, ये गलत है, ये गलत है. So they are the two different, lower personality and dosha personality. So very very interesting things were found in this book.
मगर अगर जैसे किसी के घर में अगर किसी चीज को देखो और अप्रिशिएट करो, अच्छी लगे, अपने घर में लाने के लिए मतलब लाओ, तो वो भी लोभ नहीं आएगा.
पर्सनालिटी के हिसाब से वो लोअर पर्सनालिटी.
अब जैसे घर में रहते हैं तो कुछ चीजें लानी पड़ती है.
We are not talking of अच्छा क्या है बुरा क्या है, वो डिस्कशन थोड़ा हो रहा है. We are discussing basically the various personality types. कुछ होंगे उनको कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, they will just not bother क्या है, कुछ है भी नहीं है, just बातचीत कर ली.
अच्छी चीज लगना भी लोभ हो जाएगा. कोई चीज अच्छी लगती है,
पर्सनालिटी की बात है ना, इसको इवैल्यूएशन के सेंस में मिल लेना चाहिए ना. Should not be seen in the sense of कि मेरी पर्सनालिटी लोभ है तो मैं इसका मतलब मैं लोभी हूँ, ऐसा नहीं है. राग क्या कहना चाहिए,
राग जग गया मतलब.
Yeah, of course.
राग जग गया, ये मैं जानता हूँ.
The moment I see something present and I make मैं मन में सोचता हूँ कि मुझे खरीदना चाहिए अपने लिए, तो राग तो जग गया ना उसके प्रति.
नहीं तो फिर आप मतलब आप रह रहे हो संसार में, एक जनरल बात है, तो आप चीजें खरीदोगे, देखोगे,
तो थोड़ा बहुत राग राजनीति
रहेगा। मतलब
बिल्कुल
ऐसा तो नहीं हो सकता ना कि भाई
तो हम अगर उसको एक
मतलब
नेसेसिटी लेवल पे रखेंगे तो ठीक है।
अच्छा,
नेसेसिटी से ज्यादा जाएंगे तो राग से उत्प्रेरित होगा। तो इस तरह से इसकी पर्सनालिटी टाइप्स काफी मिले। तो फिर वो बुद्धिस्ट साइकोलॉजी की 3-4 किताबें भी मिली, बट सरप्राइजिंगली नन ऑफ देम वाज रियली रिटन इन द सेंस दैट यू कुड गिव इट टू एमए साइकोलॉजी स्टूडेंट कि इसको पढ़ लो, वो तो उसको 2 पेज पढ़ के छोड़ देगा। दे आर रिटन एसेज, जो बेस्ट बुक थी रिटेज ऑन एसेज ऑन various topics of similar kind which use in psychology, but they are written in such a terse language कि जिस बंदे ने मेडिटेशन नहीं की उसको समझ ही नहीं आ सकता वो। सो देन आई थॉट इट इज कि जो हमें साइकोलॉजी स्टूडेंट्स हैं, इट्स एन अपॉर्चुनिटी फॉर देम टू इंट्रोड्यूस द टीचिंग्स ऑफ बुद्धा एंड व्हाई नॉट सी द बेनिफिट फ्रॉम देयर पर्सपेक्टिव। सो देन आई प्रिपेयर्ड दैट होल सेट ऑफ टॉक्स फॉर देम। तो उससे काफी लाभ हुआ, मेरा अपना लाभ बहुत हुआ। इट हेल्प मी टू क्लैरिफाई कि अभिधम्मा का यूटिलिटी कहाँ है, to understand mind, and then from the practical perspective of understanding the mental defilements and how they manifest in terms of mental diseases. Depression कैसे किस कारण से होता है और anxiety किस कारण से होता है. So you can relate the mental factors to various kinds of mental disease. So that is very greatly beneficial for me, and I think students also very much like that. टीचर थे जो प्रोफेसर थे वहाँ के DUP were also very happy on that. So that's why again this year I am again teaching that with slight changes, and we could show them the true value of meditation, how meditation is helpful, so they could easily accept that yes, through meditation also the mental debilities and weaknesses can be handled. फिर एक बाद में पिछले साल ही वहाँ नालंदा में उन्होंने कहा था कि I should give an overview on mindfulness. So there also I tried to include अभिधम्मिक perspective. वो discussion basically था कि mindfulness जो वेस्ट में हो रही है वो सती है क्या? So then to see the difference between them, again अभिधम्मा helped कि नहीं, उसमें for mindfulness be true mindfulness as taught by the Buddha, there are so many other things which should be accompanying. And if they are not accompanying it, it doesn't remain. It becomes mere attention. So that was quite helpful. Then when we studied these various mental factors, there is mentioned in them various proximate causes for mental factors. कि वो mental factors को rise होने में क्या help करता है. तो उनमें से काफी चीजें तो obvious ही हैं, और कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं जो obvious नहीं है. So उससे लगता है कि उससे clarity आई कि भाई इस जैसे सती को cultivate करने के लिए संज्ञा is helpful. Now it sounds very strange. Sangya, sthir Sangya, strong Sangya should be helpful in cultivating sati. But when you meditate and reflect, you see, yes, it is true. Because if you, जैसे हम कहते हैं कि सांस को देखो, फिर सांस के लंबा है कि छोटा है ये देखो, सांस जो है इस नासिका पे जा रहा है कि इससे, why are you doing it? You ड्रामा कर रहे हैं क्या? You're doing it so that mind becomes more and more focused, and then its tendency to wander away reduces. तो एक तरह से संज्ञा को स्थिर कर रहे हैं. You're recognizing more and more, isn't it? Though your objective is to be more mindful, the way to become more mindful is to recognize more and more characteristics of it. So this is the approach which has been followed by West also. वो कहते हैं जैसे आप पेड़ को देख रहे हैं तो आपने देख लिया यार पेड़ है, चल दिए बाकी. But if you look at it carefully, you will see so many other factors which you omit normally. तो जो अमेरिका में प्रोफेसर एलन एक्गर जिसने माइंडफुलनेस को मतलब साइकोलॉजिकल पर्सपेक्टिव से प्रेजेंट किया, शी हैज यूज्ड दिस स्थिर संज्ञा मोटिव विदाउट नोइंग अबाउट बुद्धा's teachings. She doesn't want to teach it as a part of Buddha's teachings, but use the same approach, maybe developed on her own, कि हम जो चीज देख रहे हैं, सुन रहे हैं, उसको और गहराई से देखेंगे और mindfully देखेंगे. उसका मतलब we'll notice new things about it. Say if you look at the plant, generally say कि हरा पत्ते हैं, They're not green, they are various shades of green, they're yellow. So if you try to notice those various features of it, you are actually doing thir sanya, which is the word used there. तो वो सब चीजें then helped, and then of course our friend Arpan helped कि भाई करो. Now it's very important that while we study Abhidhamma, there are certain attitudinal requirements which I have felt are very useful. One of course is the Saddha. That is of course, beginning is Shraddha itself. Meaning in the teaching, taking it to be teaching of the Buddha, and then not rejecting it outright, even if it sounds very strange. कई बार ऐसा हो जाता है ना, खासतौर पर जो intellectually minded लोग हैं मेरे जैसे, just put them aside कि ये तो it's not in tune with our understanding. So that's why it is said only good meditators should really study. Then it's not, otherwise तो समझ ही नहीं आएगा. I can see it from और एक्सपीरियंस कि 10 साल बाद जब मैंने 10 साल साधना करने के बाद पढ़ा तो ज़्यादा जमा नहीं. Took 20 years all to really figure out कि नहीं, it has some value. क्यों कोई पढ़ाने वाला नहीं था ना, जो कोई, if you have a person who has studied it, practiced it long, then it becomes easy to understand कि this is the way you can really figure it out, its use. So when we discuss things, it should be verified simultaneously. It's very important. जैसे कुछ पॉइंट्स कहे जाए कि ये मेंटल फैक्टर है, तो then we should verify, we should see कि हाँ क्या ऐसा मेंटल फैक्टर हमारी साधना में हमारे सामने आया या हमारी डेली लाइफ में हमारे सामने आया, then only we can really accept it as a mental factor.
तो ये जो सारी टर्म्स हैं, जो सारी मेंटल फैक्टर्स हैं, उनकी ट्रांसलेशंस क्या उन सबके लिए इंग्लिश वर्ड्स हैं जो
approximate है? So therefore we have the benefit of studying Pali. So we use them and we see the nuance of it. और उसके एक ही शब्द के कई सारे मीनिंग हैं और वो सारे मीनिंग करेक्ट हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि वो गलत है. सती शब्द का मतलब रिमेम्बरेंस ऐसे होता है ना, स्मृति कहते हैं. हम उसको भी लुक डाउन अपॉन इट कि ये रिमेम्बरेंस नहीं, बट इट इज रिमेम्बरेंस. व्हेन यू आर मेडिटेटिंग एंड माइंड वॉन्डर्स अवे, you remember karna hai bhai. So in that sense it is remembrance also. So we should see it is reminding us to do things again and again. In fact, the biggest difficulty for us in practicing satipatthana is कि हम भूल जाते हैं कि हमें सजग रहना था daily life में. What else? For us who are practiced it for so long, for us the main issue is that we forget that we should be mindful every time, in every day, in every moment in our life. If we just remember it, the rest follows automatically. So this way there are issues which become, some are contentious issues also, then we should reflect upon them peacefully. They may not agree with our present teaching or the way we have been taught. तो उसमें फिर वो confusion नहीं होना चाहिए. We should be very open-minded in studying it, because we are studying words of the Buddha, we are not studying something else. And therefore it's not sheer intellectual understanding, it has to be verified at every stage. So let's start with basic fundamentals. There are basically 7 books in Abhidhamma Pitaka. Dhamma Sangini, Vibhanga, Dhatu Katha, Puggala Panyati, Kathavattu, Yamaka, Patthana. And Patthana is the largest. It deals with, Dhamma Sangini deals with analysis, Patthana deals with combination. So you have analysis and then synthesis, so that you can first break it into parts, जैसे साइंस में करते हैं, you break it into parts, atoms, molecules, molecules से atoms, atoms से fundamental particles, then you bring them together. इस तरह से इकट्ठे होंगे तो ये बन जाएगा, इस तरह से इकट्ठे होंगे. So exactly same formulation is there in Abhidhamma. And then these are the various books of it. Kathavattu is a book which is written by Moggalliputta Tissa. That's very clearly written in that book itself. So it was incorporated into Abhidhamma much later. Moggalliputta Tissa was the teacher of Emperor Ashoka. So at that time there were disputes, and to resolve those disputes, Kathavattu means questions, and what are the questions which were disputes which had arisen. So he gave response. He was supposed to be an arahant. So he gave a response to settle down all those disputes which had arisen between various traditions कह लो या sects कह लो of Buddhism. Now, its origin, of course, again is in, there are different perspectives. Some people say it is teaching directly of the Buddha, others say no, it is expansion of that kind. And even then it is said that when after the enlightenment of the Buddha, in the fourth, जो 7 weeks वो वही रहे थे ना बोध गया में, तो वहाँ पे in the fourth week he got contemplated on this Abhidhamma, means the higher knowledge, what is going on in this world, how the things are there. And then it said that during that he stayed in one place which is now called Ratnaghar. अगर आप मोदी वहाँ जाएंगे बोध गया में तो एक जगह बना रखी है उसको रत्नघर कहते हैं. You say that it was kind of the celestial beings, had great respect for that place and they adorned it in that manner. And it is said that when we were discussing Patthana, when he got the insight of Patthana, his whole body was illuminated with 7 colors and all that kind of thing is said. Then it was given to his mother in Tavatim Saloka, Devloka, before the 7th Vasa, which means in the 7th year, 6th year of after his enlightenment, the Buddha went to the Tavatim Saloka, means the Tavatim is 33, the Loka of 33 gods, you can say, which is one of the highest Devlokas. And there his mother was there, Mahamaya. So he taught it to her. And then since it is said that one day of Tavatim Saloka is approximately 100 days of human realm. So he used to come out and come down to, as a break period, he would come down to earth and go for arms around and take food. And then tell Sariputta, this is what I taught. And that's how it is said that then later Sariputta expanded it and brought it in this form of the whole complete enunciation of 6,000 and odd pages was not done by Buddha, but it was given in the capsule form to Sariputta, who then expanded it into the complete Abhidhamma. And you can easily see the reason why it is held in great reverence. It articulates a comprehensive vision of the complete experiential reality. Nothing is left out in it. And only a mind which is so sharp, which can penetrate into the totality of things in the depth and fineness. This is the kind of word which has been used in praise of Abhidhamma. It articulates a comprehensive vision of totality of experiential reality. It's not talking of metaphysics. जैसे दूसरे traditions में metaphysical speculation होती है ना, philosophy की बात होती है कि inferential philosophy होती है. It is experiential. And that experience can only be done by somebody who has that penetrative insight and meditative ability that he can see the things in such fine detail as a mind moment arising and passing away. So it is said that other than the Buddha, only Sariputta had that ability to see mind moments arising and passing away. So that's why Buddha gave it teaching to him and then he could put it down.
So that's other than Kathavattu, all the books were taught to Mahamaya. Is that?
No, it's not clear exactly whether all of it was taught to, in what form was it taught to Mahamaya. It's not clear. The essence of it was taught, and that has been probably then assembled in different ways. It's not that we don't know really whether it was all of it was taught apart.
But are there other references when he expounded upon other parts of it to other people?
No, on the domain in the earth he never talked about this. In none of the discourses there is a mention of Abhidhamma. But the concepts of Abhidhamma are found in suttas. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो कोई they are alien to it. Very like atomic elemental form you can see those concepts. I'll discuss them.
The word Abhidhamma itself
means higher than Abhi.
Right, but it somehow seems to me that Buddha would not have used the word called higher or lower Dhamma. Buddha always said Dhamma is Dhamma.
That is true.
People would have when they were trying to understand what Buddha taught as Dhamma, and then trying to understand what are the intricacies of this, they would have coined the word Abhidhamma.
जो पिटक बनाए गए वो सब भगवान ने तो नहीं बनाए थे ना. शुद्ध पिटक विनय पिटक वो तो उन्होंने नहीं बनाया था. That was made by the Mahakashyapas. So it is said that Mahakashyapa, who was the leader of the first Sangha, he did. He and the other 500 bhikkhus, they categorized it into various categories. Otherwise, तो category तो थी नहीं ना कोई भी. Even discourses were not categorized. It was done by him. उनके सुत्त पिटक बनाए, उसके इतने निकाय बनाए, इतनी सारी बुक्स हर एक में डाली. All that was done by the assembly of 500 monks. So they say that all this also was done by them.
Okay.
They classified those discourses in various categories. जैसे सुत्त पिटक में इतने निकाय बनाए गए, खुदक निकाय में 13 किताबें डाल दी गई. All that was done by them, not by the Buddha. So what is interesting is that this Abhidhamma is not just psychology, it's also the philosophy, it also is ethics, and they are all combined in a very intricate way. You can't just take it out. The key thing is it is not a speculative, there's no speculation involved of anything, it's all descriptive. Descriptive meaning something which I can experience and describe. So somebody has experienced, obviously Buddha had experienced, and he described this is how reality is. Now, what we are going to study is only Abhidhamma Sangaha, which is written by Venerable Aniruddha. And again, who was he, when was it? It's again, very not very sure, because people were not very keen on projecting themselves as the writers of the books. So it is, people say 5th century, others say 8th century, others say 10th century. That is Venerable Aniruddha was from Kanchipuram. Present जिसको कांचीपुरम कहते हैं ना, जहाँ वो कांची के जो मठ है जहाँ पे, that place was a big center. South India was a big center of Buddhism. And but they say that he went to Sri Lanka and then he wrote there. Sri Lanka वाले कहते हैं नहीं हमारे यहाँ लिखा गया था. So all those kind of things are there. But the fact is that it is written by Venerable Aniruddha. This is known. And when exactly was he is not really sure. They say he was a person, ये तो Sri Lankan भी कहते हैं, he belonged to Kanchipuram, but he had come to Sri Lanka and then he wrote it there. Just as about Buddha Ghosha also it is said. Now, what is it going to describe? What does it mean by reality? The reality, because we are talking of he's describing reality. The philosophical understanding of reality is quite complex. What we are talking of is reality as experienced by us. So it's very simple, very simple. Conscious reality as experienced by us. Unlike physics, philosophy, where they say, I am looking at the world and describing the world. Isn't it? They're not talking of experiencing the world. Because मैंने ऐसा देखा है, वर्ल्ड ऐसा है, उसमें एटम्स हैं, मॉलिक्यूल्स हैं, या उसमें एक देवलोक है, या उसमें एक आत्मा है, या परमात्मा है, या आत्मा और परमात्मा दो है. All this is a description which is metaphysical. But it's not easily experienceable by all of us. So while here it is something which can be experienced. So that's so the definition of reality is conscious reality as experienced by us. Simple.
So why categorizing what science describes as not something that we experience?
Yes. It is something, these models and the atoms and the electrons and protons,
at that level,
they're not experiential.
They're not.
Mental factors are all experiential. Everything here is experienceable, even by beginners like us. Leave aside Buddha. Everything. Then the key thing which they are pointing out is that, which is in tune with the modern understanding also, that conventional reality is only a conceptual construct, which we ultimately, mistakenly take as ultimately real. And that's what is meant by wrong view or mithya-dishti. So the example is given of what you say car, for example. There they use the example of chariot. In the Milinda Panha, he uses that example to illustrate difference between conventional reality and the absolute reality. So if you have a car, I've shown the car blown up in that. So if you ask somebody, हाथ ला के दिखाओ कौन सी car है, you can't show it because there's nothing like that. It is only a name given to assembly of all these parts together.
It's a concept.
It's a concept. Say the river Ganga is a concept. Human being is a concept. It's only assembly of various parts. So that issue of seeing the things as they really are, not as they appear to be, yatha bhuta jnana darsana. That is the kind of wisdom which it is trying to inculcate, so that you can go beyond the appearances. To be able to go beyond the appearances, somebody should direct you. The appearances mein mat phas jao. So that is the kind of role which Abhidhamma plays. And that's very greatly analogous to modern science. In fact, the way modern science has developed in last 20 years especially, it's amazing. In fact, there's an interesting side to it. One Professor Glenn Murray, who got Nobel Prize for developing the study of quarks and other things, when he wrote his paper, he called it Eightfold Path.
Really?
If you write Eightfold Path in physics in Google, you will get his paper. So I downloaded a full book called Eightfold Path. And he talks of Eightfold Path because he says at the ultimate reality there are only 8 things which are joined together. Absolutely in tune. Of course, what he described, those are totally different. But Buddha also tells of Ashtakalapa and all that. So when he found that there are 8 things which are interlinked, so he said, this looks like Eightfold Path of the Buddha. So and then of course that was developed further into the discovery of quarks took place. So even now when we talk of quarks, they are elemental realities which combine in a strange way. If you see the descriptions, very, very strange. There's the up quark and down quark and charm and strange and all that kind of strange things given there. So even electron is now thought of as a building above quarks. Protons are built up of quarks. And the whole structure is a kind of a cloud where you can't figure out what's going on. So just as modern science says that behind the matter there is atom, and behind atom there is these. In exactly same way, and they say that the quark is the ultimate reality. In similar way, Abhidhamma points out what are the ultimate realities of both material realm and the mental realm. So exactly same kind of objective is used. So he says behind the conventional realities lie the objective actualities which are real, and they possess their own ontological intimacy, means they are basically correct. They are the ones which are ultimately real. They are not dependent on anything else. So that is similarly the nature of their own, and therefore they are independent of conceptual processing of the data. They are not based on concepts. They are the real experiences, and this is exactly in tune with the way modern science understands atom and the subsequent parts of it. I've shown that diagram there, which you can see, and all this is based on inferences derived from experimental observations. So these ultimate realities, just as there we term them as quarks now. In these ultimate realities are called dhammas. And then there are both Paramartha Dhamma and Samutti Dhamma. Paramartha Dhamma means ultimate, Samutti Dhamma means appearance. So Abhidhamma deals with Paramartha Dhammas, basically. And what it is trying to claim is that whole of the world which we experience is an interplay of these dhammas. There's nothing else really. So if you know about these dhammas, the whole thing seems like a drama. These dhammas are interacting in various forms. So then a kind of background of Abhidhamma is what's called a Dhamma theory. It's not spelled out in this as such, but it is presumed that people understand what is Dhamma. So therefore, when you read it, unless you know that, it becomes very difficult to figure out ho kya raha hai.
So Dhamma word is used in
so many contexts.
This is a new thing.
So when you use Dhamma with capital D, it means teachings of the Buddha. When you use Dhamma with small d, it means these Dhammas, elemental realities of the mental and physical world. The basic constituents of all our experience. And it's even more weird, when you see further, because the analogy with matter breaks, the modern science breaks down, as we'll see. I don't want to kind of rush through that. So what is this Dhamma theory or Dhammavada it is called? I got a detailed exposition from a research paper on this, otherwise it was not available. It says Dhammas are the final irreducible components of existence. It is clear. So Silesh had a question. Is Dhamma a quark? I don't know.
So you have brought them so almost together, but you never.
I can't say that.
You didn't say that Dhamma.
I can't say that.
No, but if it is the...
Well, Silesh is in America, he can talk to that professor and find out.
So the Dhammas are also 8 here?
They know the matter, they talk of Ashtakalapa.
Right.
But there they talk of quarks. From that eightfold things, he had built up that, then from there emerged quarks. It's not, that was the beginning of the discovery. So they had a conference on this, eightfold physics or something. And there are a series of papers published, पूरी conference proceedings हैं. तो मैं वो पेपर ढूंढ रहा था, वो पूरी proceeding ही डाउनलोड करनी पड़ी, तो उसमें वो पेपर मिला उनका, ग्लेन मरे एंड उनका eightfold path in physics or something. But it is extremely complicated. Couldn't figure out anything. Other than that, he is talking of 8 things which are interconnected to each other. And from that theory, it had these seeds of quarks in it, and they got Nobel Prize for that work.
And Dhammas here
is the ultimate building block.
And how many of them?
There also it is, quark is ultimate building block.
And how many of them are there in this
Dhamma? It's a huge number. Everything is a Dhamma. Anger is a Dhamma. Lobha is a Dhamma. Moha is a Dhamma. Dosha is a Dhamma.
They're not the building blocks. Then every factor is a Dhamma.
Yeah. They are the building blocks of our experience.
Right.
They are not all present all the time. That is a different issue. But they are the building blocks. Sometimes you are under grip of Lobha, sometimes of Moha, sometimes of Dosha, sometimes of equanimity, sometimes of generosity, sometimes of this. So that's how our whole experience is there. So it's a beautiful, complete presentation of experience is there.
और वो randomly नहीं उठ रहे हैं, वो किसी न किसी
cause से उठ रहे हैं. उसका cause क्या है? अगर उसके proximate causes को हम जानेंगे, तो then we'll be careful. And then they are interrelated to each other. उसके कारण वो उठ जाएगा, उसके कारण कई चीजें इकट्ठी उठेंगी. उद्धच्चे कुछ है वो इकट्ठे उठेंगे. Thin मिद्दा इकट्ठे उठेंगे. And so many things will arise together. So then their interdependencies are different kinds. So interdependencies are described in Patthana, 24 relations and various permutations. Now imagine you have 52 mental factors, okay? And then there is the mental factor, then there is Chitta and others, Chitta and Chetsikas. And then how many combinations you can, then they can combine in 24 ways. लाखों उसमें बना रखा. So Patthana is said to have 2600 pages. Just इसका रिलेशनशिप इससे होगा, इसका रिलेशनशिप इससे होगा, इसका ये जब दोनों चीजें उठेंगी तो ये होगा, ये तीनों चीज उठेंगी तो ये होगा. It's mind boggling,
2600 pages है.
1500 pages of Patthana, एक volume जो है.
So that's a synthesis.
That is a synthesis. बाकी जब separation है, all those 6 books put together is also 2500 pages. So it means all total is about 5000 pages or something of that kind.
Somebody wrote those combinations and what they mean?
According to Theravada tradition, it was written down it was recited in the first council and carried on and then written down much later at the Sri Lanka first times.
So then that's what is the Abhidhamma Sangha? ये क्या है?
It is essentially a summary of Abhidhamma. Concise summary of Abhidhamma.
All 7 books together.
Yeah, it's it has elements of each of them. Very very small, explanations which are sufficient from the point of view of and get an overview. You can say it's an overview of it. What he calls it is the manual of Abhidhamma. He says, let me just read out to you. We read out what Acharya Anuruddha has to say about it himself. He says it is Abhidhammat Sangaham. Sangaham means compendium. So it is a compendium of the things contained in Abhidhamma. So a summary of the things contained in Abhidhamma.
And it was also written by Acharya.
It's written by Aniruddha. ये जो 9th जिसको मैंने कोई करा 5th में लिखा गया 8th सेंचुरी में लिखा मतलब आज से 1500 साल पहले लिखा गया करीब at least that much earlier it was written. So he says, then he describes, Abhidhamma में है क्या? It is a kind of introduction to Abhidhamma कि Abhidhamma में है क्या? So that's what we are going to discuss primarily. Abhidhamma में है क्या?
इतना पुराना, इतना deep, इतना profound literature है, but we don't appreciate that.
That's a sad thing. अभी भी people are, I mean, having, they get caught in unnecessary things. बुद्धा थे भी कि नहीं थे, किसने लिखा है, ये बुद्धा के ओरिजिनल वर्ड्स नहीं है. अरे बाबा जिसके भी है
बहुत बढ़िया
किसके भी हो पढ़ो तो सही, देखो तो सही, आंखें खुल जाएंगी पढ़ के. हाउ डज इट मैटर? अजान सुबह तो कहते हैं ना, वो तो साफ कहते हैं इवन हिस्टोरिकल बुद्धा वाज नॉट देयर, हाउ डज इट मैटर टू यू? यू विल सी बुद्धा इन योरसेल्फ. तो वो पीपल गेट इनटू दैट, ये तो ऐसे ही है. दोज हु वांट टू रिडिक्यूल इट वो ऐसे कह देंगे. तो ठीक है.
But Ajahn Sumedho, being a monk in a Buddhist tradition for more than 40-50 years, he says it very clearly. It's such a it requires so much of.
You have heard Dalai Lama saying it. So if scientists ने से prove कहा कि अगर तुमने if you prove that God exists, then what you say? Yes, I'll agree. If you scientifically can prove me that God exists, I'll accept it. I'll say Buddha was wrong. Just imagine. करके तो देखो, बताओ तो कि कहाँ है. But then I mean they cannot argue with him because he's as much of a deep scholar. Tibetan tradition में तो they have great scholarship. No? They have to study for 14 years. They have to study all the literature and which is derived from these kind basically. Buddha's teachings only, their own versions of it.
So this Bhikkhu Bodhi's book it's not a translation of.
It is actually written by Mahathera Narada. It's Bhikkhu Bodhi has amended it. We actually forget it. Pali text originally edited and translated by Mahathera Narada. Translated and revised by Bhikkhu Bodhi.
So what's the relationship between Narada and Aniruddha?
ये तो श्रीलंकन वो थे ना. What I'm saying is that we say it actually Bhikkhu Bodhi's compendium, but it is actually written by Mahathera Narada. It was revised by him. This translation.
Mahathera Narada did the first
translation
of
Abhidhamma Sangaha, which was done in about 100 years ago or something of that kind. It is revised by Bhikkhu Bodhi because उस समय पाली की उतनी क्लैरिटी नहीं थी.
And originally it was written in Pali.
Yeah, they are all written in Pali. इसमें ओरिजिनल पाली के सारे सेंटेंसेस हैं, उसका एक ट्रांसलेशन दिया हुआ है और फिर उनका इट इज बेसिकली अभिधम्म संग्रह रिटन इन पाली, ट्रांसलेशन एंड देन एक्सप्लेनेशन.
सो दरअसल जो एक्चुअल 7 बुक्स हैं
तो
वो ट्रांसलेटेड हैं, वो भी नहीं है.
मुझे नहीं मालूम, ट्रांसलेशन मैंने नहीं देखा है. कुछ का है, कुछ का तो है, मैंने डाउनलोड भी किया था, बट दे आर वेरी टर्स टू रीड. पहले ये पढ़ ले इंट्रोडक्शन तो फिर वो समझ में आएगा.
इसरो 2600 जो कॉम्बिनेशन है वो पढ़ के कोई फायदा भी नहीं है.
हाँ, इट्स माइंड बॉगलिंग. बट उसमें से कुछ चीजें बड़ी पावरफुल हैं. कोई
इंसाइट निकाल सके
उनके अंदर से. कुछ चीजें बहुत पावरफुल है कि किस तरह से कुशल कर्म भी अकुशल कर्म का हेतु बन जाता है. वो जो 5th डे को रिसाइट करते हैं ना तिक्पठान, उसमें वो चीजें आती हैं कुछ. वो तिक्पठान जो है उसका एक पार्ट है, वो जो पठान पाली है उसका एक सेक्शन है, वो मैंने डाउनलोड किया था, अपने पास रखा हुआ है, जो जिसमें वो पूरी आते हैं कि किस चीज के कारण कैसे अकुशल कर्म से कुशल कर्म पैदा हो सकता है, कुशल कर्म कैसे अकुशल कर्म का हेतु बन सकता है. तो दानम दित्वा समाधि, दान का अभ्यास कर रहे हैं, दे रहे हैं, समाधि का अभ्यास कर रहे हैं, गर्म कृत्वा उसको आप अहंकार बना रहे हैं, तो अकुशल कर्म हो गया. दिस काइंड ऑफ एक्सप्लेनेशंस आर गिवन देयर. So one has to read them and understand them properly. आप अगर दान भी कर रहे हैं, उपोषण भी कर रहे हैं, but in doing that you take it self personally, उसमें self को ला रहे हो, तो वो अकुशल कर्म का हेतु, एक कुशल कर्म अकुशल कर्म का हेतु बन गया. So these insights are very powerful, but they have to be kind of picked from there. So the next one is the most difficult now to understand really. He says there is no substantialist connotation. Dhammas represent the utmost limit to which the analysis of empirical existence can be pushed. So there is a limit of our experience. It does not mean that they are like electron which has a certain mass and a charge. They are just experiences. Just as you can't say Lobha has so much charge and so much weight. Similarly, Pathvi Dhatu also does not have any charge or weight. It is only an experience of heaviness. That's a mind-boggling thing. So he says, apart from Svabhava, there is no entity called Dhamma. They have their Svabhava, they have their characteristic.
So apart from Svabhava, there is no one.
Normally when we talk of, breaking down reality into parts, we think of the atom है, small sand grain है, अरे कुछ तो होगा उसमें, वो कहना वो कुछ नहीं, स्वभाव. Nearest you can say is it is prakampito, it is a vibration, it is energy.
But energy and vibration is different from Swabhava, isn't it?
No, that Swabhava has at its root, it has energy. It is a vibration of a particular kind. We experience it in our meditation. When anger arises, creates a very different kind of vibration. Then when lust arises, it creates a different vibration. So body में महसूस जाता है. So it's like, nearest I could think of was like modern science talking about vacuum. Vacuum is not emptiness.
Vacuum is not emptiness.
It has energy in it. Now modern science recognizes it is like a field. Vacuum is not emptiness. It is, and in fact, in that spontaneously arise things from vacuum. So जो नई latest discoveries हुई हैं about dark matter and dark energy, they are all part of vacuum. So it's a very mind-boggling thing. But from the Abhidhammic perspective, this is quite difficult to because normally I felt into that connotation for quite long time. कैसे ठीक एटम की तरह ही होंगे, सब कुछ है कुछ तो है, वो अनंतता है ना, कहते वो भी कुछ नहीं है. It's just an experience. अब नॉर्मली अब माइंड के बारे में तो समझ में आता है यार, ठीक है गुस्सा है तो उसका क्या वजन होगा, तो क्लियर है. लेकिन पृथ्वी धातु ये तो चीज है, मैटर है, इसमें तो कुछ है ना, कहते उसमें भी कुछ नहीं है. मैटर से धातु, अग्नि धातु, पृथ्वी धातु, वायु धातु, आपो धातु, आकाश, तो obviously it has no weight. Consciousness no weight. So if you take 4 dhatus which constitute matter, suppose you take that, normally मुझे लगता है ना कि उसका कुछ तो होगा, वजन तो होगा, कुछ तो मैटर होगा उसमें. अल्टीमेट बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक है, अगर इसका अल्टीमेट बिल्डिंग ब्लॉक 0 है क्या? वो कहना वो कुछ नहीं है. इट इज ओनली पकम तो पकम, ओनली वाइब्रेशन. The quantum relativistic notion of matter which we agree upon now, कहते हैं जो इलेक्ट्रॉन है, इट इज जस्ट एनर्जी फील्ड. इट कैन ट्रांसफर. जो भी LHC का एक्सपेरिमेंट हुआ था उसमें आउट ऑफ एनर्जी वी जनरेटेड पार्टिकल्स एंड दो पार्टिकल्स डिसइंटीग्रेटेड इनटू एनर्जी अगेन. So the same thing is being said here, that it is essentially an experience, and that experience must be having a background. You can nearest you can say is a vibration, prakampito. वो उसमें है ना, ये पढ़ा नहीं, सुत्ता पढ़ना चाहिए. फायर सरमन जो है, फायर सरमन में पढ़ा नहीं, थर्ड डिस्कोर्स ऑफ द बुद्धा, वो उसमें है ना कि एवरीथिंग इज बर्निंग. Eye is burning, objects are burning, contact is burning, high consciousness is burning, everything is burning. There's nothing in it. So burning is an indication of a constant kind of vibration. Sabbe loko pakamputo, sabbe loko projectito. The whole of the world, everything is state of vibration, state of burning. So that's kind of it's a very difficult thing to really get. But there is only a characteristic, and there is no distinct entity called Dhamma. Entity in the sense of substantialist, है ना? No substantialist connotation, मतलब उसकी कोई substance नहीं है उसके पीछे.
So ये थोड़ा difficult हो जाता है. So the four things that makes matter, the four dhatus, they feel heavy. That is their स्वभाव.
The Prithvi dhatu is not a substantial thing called Prithvi. उसको नाम दिया गया है. नॉर्मली ऐसा लगता है ना पृथ्वी है तो पृथ्वी की बात होगी. इट इज ओनली द एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ हैवीनेस एंड लाइटनेस. बिकॉज हमारे एक्सपीरियंस में वही आता है. अपीयरेंस में पृथ्वी है, अपीयरेंस में पृथ्वी है, अपीयरेंस में आपो धातु है, पानी है. बट हमारे एक्सपीरियंस में क्या आता है? जुड़ता है, खोलता है, जुड़ता है, एग्रीगेशन. वायु धातु है, वायु तो एक्सपीरियंस आती है ना एक्सपीरियंस में, जब हवा चलती है तो लगता है ना. बट हमारे एक्सपीरियंस में क्या आता है? हलन चलन. सो दैट्स व्हाई यू नो इट took considerable time to understand this issue that we are discussing experience.
We're not discussing
We are not discussing what is there in substance, but that is actually directly related there also. And surprisingly, modern science also comes to the same conclusion. What we call as matter, heaviness, is essentially a heaviness of matter is a result, or solidity of matter, even more you take, is a result of micro particles moving at such a high speed कि आप उसके थ्रू हाथ नहीं डाल पा रहे. जैसे पंखा चल रहा धीरे, इसके थ्रू तो मैं कोशिश करूंगा शायद हाथ निकाल भी लूंगा तो चला लो. इट लुक्स लाइक सॉलिड बॉस. जो सॉलिड लगता है ना वो लगता है सॉलिड. इसी तरह से ये भी सॉलिड लग रहा है नहीं. क्यों? क्योंकि पार्टिकल्स इतनी हाई स्पीड से चल रहे हैं कि आप इमेजिन ही नहीं कर सकते कि इसके अंदर से कुछ हो से जा सकता है. लेकिन इसी सॉलिड पार्टिकल में अक्सर चली जाती है ना. उसमें गैप है ना उनके बीच में, हमारे चली जाती है ना, यहाँ पार हो जाती है. जब कैट स्कैन होता है अंदर से बाहर निकल जाती है. सो दैट फाइंड इट स्पेस. कहाँ से करा हाँ नहीं इतना आता से पत्र से काम तेल ना अंदर से ना टी बैग. So and you can see, you know, when you send X-ray through the human body, वो हड्डी में से नहीं जा पाती. गामा रे डाल दो तो उसके थ्रू निकल जाएगी. It depends on the instrument which you use. अगर आपका माइंड इतना शार्प हो जाएगा हमारे के जैसा, you can penetrate through everything. हम लोग जब ध्यान करते हैं गहराई से, so you're able to penetrate through the body. You're able to take the mind through from here and just spread out from here. Whole body becomes complete vibration. No solidity remains.
That is only in experience.
That is experience, isn't it? That's the point. So only person with experience can write this. अगर इसको हम intellectually समझ लगे तो पागलपन है. What does it mean?
तो सर जैसे हमारे एक्सपीरियंस में हमारी बॉडी जो है नॉर्मल एक्सपीरियंस में पृथ्वी धातु की तरह लगती है.
So what is our experience? Let us very good. Let's see. Let's close our eyes. What is our experience of the body? Heaviness, lightness. That's all.
बट जब हम मेडिटेशन करते हैं तो दैट एक्सपीरियंस चेंजेस.
Yes, good.
So
with the increase
changes,
with the concentration changes, state of mind changes, the experience of solidity is a result of moha, this result of attachment. Attachment कब होने लगती है तो माइंड शार्प होने लगता है. तो आप विजिबल लाइट से एक्सरे की तरफ जाएंगे, एक्सरे से गामा रे की तरफ जाएंगे. So you can just penetrate into the reality because your mind has become sharp. It's not deluded, इधर-उधर भटक नहीं रहा है. You get a better, you get a clearer perspective. So you are able to apprehend the reality better. That's the way I understand it.
So the same thing can be experienced in two different ways. The same body in normal situation can be experienced as heavy.
It's not the same body. Every moment it is changing. Every moment the body
Same
is changing.
concept
Yes, same concept.
can be experienced in two different
Yeah.
ways.
Multiple different ways. Many different ways. Just as same tree, so-called same tree, it can be seen different ways. Different people can see it in different perspective. For a carpenter, it is a good wood. For an ecologist, it is an oxygen-producing device. So it becomes tough.
It is.
Hello.
क्यों दीपक? So the last thing I will read out from here, then we'll stop. The dhammas are inseparable or complicate हो जाता है. They exist in a state of homogeneous unity, yet they are distinguishable. जैसे we take matter, which is more difficult to understand. Mind तो easy समझ में आता है और उसमें तो कुछ रखा लगता है clearly. Matter में बहुत difficulty होती है ना. अब आप ये वजन देख रहे हैं. So what is it saying is that it is not just पृथ्वी धातु, आयो धातु, आपो धातु, अग्नि धातु, तेजो धातु. All of them are there. Their intensities are different. And what appears heavy, the Prithvi Dhatu is very high. And what appears hot, Tejo Dhatu or Agni Dhatu is very high. It appears moving, air जैसे है. So it also has some Prithvi Dhatu in it. Water, Apo also has some Prithvi Dhatu in it, but very small. It is more of Apo Dhatu. So they are all together, but they can be distinguished. So in our experience also, bodily experiences, you can see that there is a heaviness experience. You can see that there is a movement experience. Gas bhurti रहती है अंदर अंदर मालूम पड़ता रहता है. They are distinct experiences, but they are always together. They are always arise together. तो वो उसको conditionality में कहा जाए सहजात अपच्चय. They arise together. They are born together. So all the four dhatus, they arise together. They are not separate, never separate. Yet distinguishable by experience. So that makes it very, very, very tricky. So it took quite some time to appreciate it has some meaning in it. Otherwise, look, what is arising together means one कौन है और उसको अलग अलग क्यों कर रहे हैं?
उनकी quantity and intensity different.
Intensity different is experience different. Because we are talking of experience, we are not talking of anything. And in our experience, we have that. We have experience of heat in the body, we have experience of movement in the body, we have experience of contracting, expanding in the body, joining together in the body, we have experience of heaviness in the body. And they are distinct experiences. गर्मी का एक्सपीरियंस और हैवीनेस का एक्सपीरियंस डिस्टिंक्ट है, उसी शरीर में हो रहा है, दोनों ही हो रहे हैं. बुखार जब होता है तो दोनों साथ साथ पहले चलते हैं, है ना. So that is it. That is it. I think we'll stop. We'll discuss these actions next time. So, if there are any questions from our friends?
Yeah. There was one by Sudhakar when you were talking about that on the fifth day of the meditation. There are some references. So Sudhakar had a specific question: which sections of Satipatthana Sutta correspond to Abhidhamma,
No, Satipatthana does not correspond to Abhidhamma.
Okay.
It has elements of it. It has the roots, seeds of it, some of them. For example, the Panchakhanda and other things. But the fifth day I was meaning, fifth day chanting. This day chanting, Guruji does morning chanting, Hetu Pachayo, Arambana Pachayo, Adipati Pachayo.
And perhaps Sudhakar is referring to the references. Which sections of Satipatthana refer to or have some elements of Abhidhamma?
The Khandapabam, for example, is all the attempts in suttas of breaking down their experience, they are all the roots of Abhidhamma. So we'll study that. I'll mention that about roots of Abhidhamma and sutta. That we'll discuss.
Okay, and there was this question by Shiva. Are these vibrations classified as good or bad? Because if compassion, kindness has a vibration which is different from craving, aversion, but these are same kalpas or dhammas at the ultimate state.
Not same. Dhamma different. When we study about mental factors, they will be classified as wholesome, unwholesome, functional. So they are classified that way. Those which lead to mental purity, those which lead to defilement, so they are classified. So compassion is different from aversion. Aversion is an unwholesome mental factor, compassion is a wholesome mental factor. So they are classified accordingly.
So rather than classified as good or bad,
No,
wholesome and unwholesome.
There's nothing like good or bad in classified. Well, something which takes us forward in the path of purification, something which does impure, makes the mind impure. Basically, that is the Satipatthana also says in Sattanam Visuddhaya. So that is the whole attempt.
So Sudhakar is saying that while listening to Sir about Abhidhamma, the chai making sounds bombarded my hearing. Does it mean Samadhi is missing?
Good comment. Our mistake. Our mistake.
This is Sudhakar has put a question mark in the end. Possibly
Our mistake.
he really means whether.
It means this microphone is good.
Yes.
and your ears are very strong.
Okay, he's trying to clarify his question.
I hope it's not becoming too heavy.
तभी तो I think start ही करा है.
हमें अभी भी ट्रिकी है.
अर्पण
मैं सोच रहा था सर वी शुड डू दिस लगातार एक्चुअली.
हाँ मैं तो है.
अगले संडे आते आते वो कहाँ चला जाएगा, ये कहाँ चला जाएगा.
What I will do is
पर इसका एक फायदा भी है ना. If you reflect on it,
Very true, very true.
reflect on it, then it is a great one.
Very true, very true. During the week, yeah.
During the week, if you verify and reflect, कि ये क्या है?
Very true.
How is it being said कि ये सब कुछ है ही नहीं?
Very true.
Then you can check it from various sources. Science क्या कह रही है? ये जो ये क्वार्क है क्या हो रहा है ये? Because all of us have a belief in science, so let us study that and see. And you can also see the references and try to verify कि क्या हो रहा है, क्या गड़बड़ है. And maybe you can add some things to it so that it becomes more clear. So it took me quite some years to get it clear. इसमें कोई शक नहीं है. Because something was so counterintuitive, na? Apart from Sabhava, there is no distinct entity called Dhamma. It's totally against our understanding of breaking down of particles, isn't it? क्योंकि भाई एक मैटर है, उसको टुकड़े टुकड़े करेगा, एटम मॉलिक्यूल बन गया, मॉलिक्यूल से एटम बना, एटम है ना, एटम से फिर इलेक्ट्रॉन बना, इलेक्ट्रॉन है ना, प्रोटॉन है ना. अब वो उसको क्वार्क पे ले गए तो गड़बड़ हो गई. वो भी कहते हैं क्वार्क क्या है, तो वाइब्रेशन है. अब जो नई थ्योरी आई है, स्ट्रिंग थ्योरी, होल ऑफ existence is defined as vibrations of strings. So you come almost to the Buddha's teaching. So different vibrations of strings are started to be different quarks. So you're exactly coming to the same understanding, which seems so counterintuitive. कि there is heaviness, but there is nothing which is heavy. वही बात हो गई ना. There is heat, but there is nothing which is hot. तो इसी दीपक में आता है ना, there is a dance, but there is no dancer. So that's how the illusion of apparent reality is broken.
Yeah, correct.
So शुरू यहीं से करना चाहिए.
No, Darshan, don't you think so?
Yeah.
That maybe we should begin at this, or it's too complicated.
I think what we should
I think this is the right time. We have discussed the हमारी बेसिक इतनी हो गई है, इतनी साधना भी है कि समझ में आने लगेगा.
ये भी है.
ये तो समझ ही नहीं आया.
ये भी.
मैंने read it first time में तो छोड़ दिया, 2-4 पेज पढ़ते हैं. It was just undigestible. एक तो वो भी एक इनिबिशन था ना कि यार ये पढ़ रहे हैं, इसका कोई डायरेक्ट रिलेवेंस क्या है हमारी साधना से, वो भी एक इनिबिशन रहता है ना. We are all utilitarian people ना. We want to study something if it has some utility, otherwise क्यों पढ़े? Which is a good thing and bad thing at the same time. No? It has its both plus and minus points.
Plus I think थोड़ा सा मेरे साथ तो था ही जो गुरु जी ये भी बोलते हैं कि आप बुद्धि विलास में तो नहीं फंस रहे हो.
हाँ, वो भी तो लगता ही है. तभी तो इतने साल तक हमने बॉदर ही नहीं किया कुछ भी पढ़ने का, other than the discourse.
तो लेडी साइड ने तो इतना वो किया.
हाँ, वही तो
कुछ हमने ही गड़बड़ कर दी.
हाँ, बिल्कुल. लेडी साइड ने तो उस पे मैनुअल्स लिख दिए इतने. और बर्मा में तो अभिधम्मा ये रेगुलर टीचिंग in the universities and other things. I tried to join the classes, but वो हो नहीं पाया. वो कहते हैं वहीं आओ महीने 2 महीने के लिए, और वहाँ जाना और रहना और खाना बड़ा मुश्किल है. And you will be surprised, the Abhidhamma is taught in Burma and in Netherlands. एक लेडी है जो वहां से पढ़ के आई है, वो नीदरलैंड में. उसको मैंने जब ईमेल लिखी तो उन्होंने जवाब ही नहीं दिया बर्मीज ने. मेरे ख्याल से वो इंग्लिश नहीं आती. फिर उस लेडी ने नीदरलैंड से जवाब दिया. एक abhidhamma.org एक शायद वेबसाइट थी, उसमें मैंने रियलाइज कि वो नीदरलैंड में रहती है, एम्स्टर्डम में रहती है. And she conducts classes in Abhidhamma there.
In Amsterdam. And there are people who want to
people who want to study.
तो पर बाहर
Apparently there are many people who are coming in Europe who are interested in this. क्योंकि वहाँ यूरोप है कितना, बगल में जर्मनी है, बगल में फ्रांस है.
एम्स्टर्डम तो वहाँ शट भी करते कि 2 घंटे की ड्राइव थी, 2-2.5 घंटे.
So Sudhakar's original question was that how does or which Dhamma that enables one to filter the unwanted stuff? Like originally one was concentration. So this is again with reference to his concentration getting broken because of the noise. His question was that how does or which Dhamma that enables one to filter the unwanted stuff?
So I think those we'll study. For each of the mental factors, there are approximate causes given there. So then we can see. One of the interesting ones which I noticed was very crucial was sense of urgency.
It's also Dhamma.
It is approximate cause for many of the wholesome factors to arise. We're seeing them. And yesterday I tried to put that proximate cause, because पहले मैंने डाला नहीं था. So then I tried to put them yesterday, the night. It was getting late, so मैंने कहा सो ही जाऊँ पहले.
तो इनका जो apparently concentration भंग हुआ, उसका भी कुछ proximate और ultimate cause होगा,
definitely,
which is unique to him.
Yeah, definitely.
That is exactly what he's saying. What are the things that filter out the unwanted stuff from your mind?
Immediately मैं क्या नहीं कहूँगा, I'll have to see through and tell you. Let me see if I can find from
But I'm wondering, isn't that something that only that person can figure out?
Yeah, but there is proximate causes are listed by the people who have broken through the mind. So they've seen this is the proximate cause, so we can verify it.
अच्छा मेरे में ये था कि ये था.
And then we can verify it. It's all, matter of experience.
वो बहुत काफी profound चीज थी कि when you start to investigate some of these things, because of your sharpened sangya, your sati increases.
It seems totally counterintuitive, because sangya is seen to be
on reflection it does not.
Yeah, but when you think, then it does not. But if you see, मतलब superficially, अरे संज्ञा तो बिल्कुल संयुक्त ज्ञान है, वो तो भ्रम में डालती है, ये कहते हैं ना, संज्ञा तो संयुक्त ज्ञान है, वो तो भ्रम में डालती है, उससे कहाँ पे उससे सती जागेगी, कहाँ फंस गए. But you see that, you practice it and see it is true. And once I read it in this Abhidhamma, that ठीक ही होगा. So let us reflect. Because otherwise we तो reject कर देते ना, संज्ञा we always take it as a distraction in our practice, isn't it?
Because what I felt was that this sati, our ability to remind ourselves in our day-to-day life, and the frequency at which we get those reminders, gets influenced by so many things. It gets influenced by, for example, if
when we'll study these mental factors, I think that will become clear, and we can verify.
And on my way to the office,
if our friends have any suggestion to make it more easily digestible, तो बताइए.
I think one session I've already given them that I'll upload the video, the whole presentation as soon as possible, that people can listen.
Because then it can be helpful for me also and for all of us कि इसको थोड़ा और मैंने कोशिश तो की कि जितना भी मैं कर सकता था कि make it easily digestible, because it's quite terse otherwise, and some of the concepts are so counterintuitive कि उनको accept करने में दिक्कत होती है. But we should, that's why I said, I was taking that these are the words of the Buddha, we should respectfully, we don't need to accept them, not need to reject it, but just as we should not accept it, we should not reject it.
just as we have Shraddha in science, I think we have just Shraddha in science. I feel
सही बात है.
बिल्कुल.
Seriously वास्तव में तो नहीं.
वास्तव में तो यही है, क्योंकि as soon as see Shraddha, if you look at Shraddha as a mental factor, if there is a scientific fact quoted to us, we tend to get inclined to believe it. It is because of our Shraddha. Right? It is because of the Shraddha that we immediately get inclined towards believing in it. We believing it to be true. Similarly, previously, earlier people used to have Shraddha in people or wiser people or elders and all that stuff, because whenever they say something, they get inclined towards that must be true. We have a similar Shraddha in science, and science changes their version of the truth every 20 years, and we believe the new version is the truth.
जो भिक्खु बोधि के लेक्चर है, दर्शा, are they following this sequence?
So he's just read them. He follows his book.
हाँ वही मैं कह रहा हूँ. Does it follow this sequence?
Exactly. Follow this book. But I am not going to follow it.
अच्छा, तो आप जो कर रहे हैं,
वो तो सर का अपना इंटरप्रिटेशन
धम्मा थ्योरी जो है वो उसमें नहीं है. धम्मा थ्योरी जो मैंने आपको नेम बताए उसमें नहीं है.
वो ये सीक्वेंस
इसमें अज्यूम करते हैं कि आपको मालूम है धम्मा. थोड़ा थोड़ा लिख दिया कि धम्मा ऐसा होता है, बट जो उसके रूल्स रेगुलेशन जो है धम्मा के वो नहीं थे. तो मुझे उस पर पेपर में मिले थे, एक मेरे रिसर्च पेपर में, क्योंकि मुझे डिफिकल्टी हो रही थी ना एक्सेप्ट करने में क्या है. So when we read them, so this similarly the presentation जो मैं करूँगा इसमें states of consciousness पहले हैं. I'll present mental factors first because I feel that is better from perspective of our psychology as well as from the point of view of meditation. It will help.
Okay.
I will change that order. I will not follow exactly same order, but the same text.
That's the advantage we have of a live teacher.
Yeah.
बहुत
It is
तो उसको आप बंद कर लें
Yes,
सेशन
yes, to
सेशन
have
में
insurmountable, बिल्कुल
सेशन को बंद कर
insurmountable.
देते हैं and we can say that
Insurmountable board.
this
Blessing.
So any questions before we
so देख के अगर कोई सजेशन हो तो पहले भेज दो मुझे over the week.
कितने ही बढ़िया होंगे यार ये
आपको भेज दें आपको आप ही भेजते हो सबको ना मैसेज आपको अगर वो भेज देंगे then you can forward send it to me and then I can see कि some things which may not have been clear हो सकता है ना.
any suggestions if you
Or if anything of this has not been clear, which needs to be discussed again, then we can discuss it again.
So Manuji has a question. Whenever possible, can we cover basic concepts as well?
These are the basics, absolutely. This is the very foundation of these. The math theory is not discussed in this book even. It presumes कि आपको ये मालूम नहीं होगा ये पढ़ रहे थे इतना मालूम होना चाहिए ऐसा हो जाता है ना. This is the kind of
But if Manuji has any specific
if
question,
you have any specific question, Manu, you can tell me.
You may be referring to this dhatu, fatu, all this stuff.
That will come in. That will come in due course. हम भी तो discuss कर रहे हैं, assuming that we know. No, that is the issue. No?
yeah.
That is the issue. We
Actually, so we studied some of those suttas also, which had the earlier seeds. Yeah.
तो इसलिए वो हम लोग discussion. When you are bound to do that, otherwise कैसे करेंगे? There is no other way to start, no? Because you can't start from. There is nothing like a beginning.
okay, I will close the session today. We will meet next week.
Thank you.